It's Saturday night, and you know what that means. Hello, it's Luke Michael Howard, clinical hypnotist and owner of Hypnosis here tonight with your Facebook Live. So, tonight is entitled Addiction and Why I Chose the Straight Edge Lifestyle. So I'm going to unpack that a little bit for you coming up later on as more people join us. What straight edge is, what that means, why I end the video with this X sign, why my first tattoo were X's on my wrists, as you can see right there. Looks like it says sex, it doesn't, it stands for straight edge. If you've just joined us, please give us a wave, give us a thumbs up, say hi in the comments below. Hope you're enjoying some of the videos and the Facebook Lives I've been producing over the last week, all focusing on addiction. Hey Deb, how are you? Good to see you. Hope everything is well. So, my first tattoo were these X's here. It stands for straight edge. What does straight edge mean? How does it relate to addiction? And that could be addiction for anything from a foreign substance you're putting in, a narcotic, from cocaine, nicotine, heroin, alcohol, opiates, crystal meth. Hypnopixie has joined us as well. It could also be addictive behaviour as well, OCD. I have to touch the door handle 17 times before I enter or exit a building. Obsessive thoughts about anxiety can be a form of addiction because you get addicted to the way that you're thinking, even if it makes you suffer. It could be electronic or digital connection, or addiction I should say as well. Addiction is often the absence of meaningful connections in your life, which is interesting. You go on Facebook Live. Hey, there he is. How you doing, Ryan? Good to see you. You go on Facebook Live because you want to be connected to people. You go on Facebook more specifically because you want to be connected to people, but you don't really connect with people in the outside world. So sometimes that can be a nasty digital addiction where the thing you're looking for is connection, but it prevents you from having meaningful connections with people. So what is straight edge? So straight edge is I was straight edge. Hey, thanks, Brian. Good to see you as well. What is straight edge? Well, straight edge it comes from the punk movement. Hence the pseudonym Hypnopunk that I use on the street. Now, back in the early 90s, there was a movement that is now called straight edge. And what would happen is, I believe it started in North America. Youngsters below the legal age would attend punk music conferences, or I should say concerts, at bars, at local establishments. And when these youngsters would go in that were under the legal age, and I think that's, what is it, at 19 or is it 21 in America? I'm not sure. I'm not in America. What would happen is if these children or these underage adolescents were served liquor, then the whole establishment would be cut down, would be closed down automatically and wouldn't be able to open up again. So what would happen is these youths that would go to these bars or these establishments where their favourite punk music were playing, what they would do on the door is on the back of their wrist, they would draw an X and permanent marker pen. So that meant if any of these underage youngsters were trying to buy liquor, which was illegal, but it was legal to listen to the punk music, then they would be denied, which means these youngsters, these adolescents could enjoy the punk movement, enjoy the punk music, but without doing any illicit drugs, without doing any alcohol. And out of that became a whole movement, and the whole movement being, you could go out, you could be with your friends, you can interact with people, you could enjoy your favourite music, you could be into punk, you could do all these things, but you wouldn't need to do them with drinking. You wouldn't need to do them with drugging in any shape or form. So that it became a movement, the straight edge movement, where you could do everything that seemingly people were doing, various substances like drinking, like drugging. You could do all the fun things that are associated to these, connecting with people, interacting with people, but you wouldn't have to do drugs anymore. Now, when I grew up in England, we would call it teetotaler. You're a teetotaler. And it's a bit of a derogatory term. Oh, he's boring. You don't drink. You don't do any drugs. You don't smoke. He's not one of the cool kids. So it wasn't cool to be a teetotaler. But the punk movement turned essentially something that I was doing into being something very, very cool, the straight edge movement. You could be really cool. You could have a tribe. You could be connected to people, but you didn't have to fit in to do things that were dangerous for you. You didn't have to fit in by drinking or drugging to feel connected to people, because you were already connected to people, but you were connected from a more authentic place, as in other than a place that we'll drink together. So that's the sole purpose of our friendship. We're all drinking together. We're all drugging together. We're all passing the weed around. That means that's the basis of our friendship. Versus, no, we enjoy one another's company, and there's a lot more depth to it. So one of the decisions for me being straight edge before I knew what straight edge was is a bit of my story. Is my dad is what you'd probably class as a functioning alcoholic. Now, from the age of I can remember, my dad would drink. Every night when he'd come over, he would have his Bacardi and Coke, and he would be smoking heavily, 50 cigarettes a day or so. And I remember about the age of 13, my dad had his first heart attack. I was 13, my sister was 8, and I remember going to the hospital, for the first time and seeing my dad hooked up to all these machines, making all these sounds and all these wires coming out of him. And quite frankly, it was probably the first time I remember being in hospital rather than the moment I was born. And I thought my dad was dead because he weren't moving. And I had this horror and shock that was there. And he'd had this massive heart attack because of years of drinking, years of smoking. I don't know if he did anything else, but certainly those two things. And I guess unconsciously I made the choice as a 13-year-old. I didn't want to live my life that way. I didn't want to live my life forming connections with people that were just based on the illicit drug that we were doing, whether illegal or illegal, but abusing the drug. I didn't want friendships or relationships that the sole purpose was, he's my friend because we drink together. Well, what's his favourite movie? Well, I don't know, but we drink together. Tell me about an inspirational life lesson that he learnt or taught you. Well, I don't know, but we drink together. What's his mum's name? I don't know, we drink together. I use that to illustrate. A lot of people don't know what's really going on with it. Sometimes if the relationship is just built on drinking or drugging, Well, he's a really cool guy. Well, what do you know about him? Well, I don't, we just do drugs together. So I made that decision from an early age, and my sister did as well, I think unconsciously, just to not do drugs or drinking. Illicit drugs, illegal drugs, or legal drugs. I decided I did not want to live my life that way. And listen, this ain't a judgment on people who do drinking or some form of drugs. They do it responsibly. It's not a judgment. I don't care if people drink, quite frankly. I don't care if people drug, as long as it's not hurting me or someone I love. I don't really care. It's just a lifestyle that I choose. Now, when someone puts their hand up or they send me an email and say, Luke, I've tried rehab. I've tried medication. I've tried addiction counselling. But now I'm about to lose my child. I'm about to lose my wife. About to lose my house. I can't pay the bills because I just lost my job because I pissed all my money up the wall buying more drugs. When those people reach out to me, that's when I come in and do everything that I can to help them, to help themselves to become free. So just because I have this lifestyle doesn't mean you have to. It's just the lifestyle I had. So it makes me uniquely skilled in helping you overcome your challenges. Because often it's like, well, how do you know about addiction, Luke, if you've never really drunk or done drugs? What do you know? Well, then I throw back the metaphor. That's like going to a doctor who's never had cancer and never cut cancer out of himself, but has 10,000 operations where he successfully cut cancer out of 10,000 different people to take that cancerous tumour out. He doesn't need to have had it in order to help someone. Well, Luke, you've never smoked. What do you know about addiction? Again, it's like going to the person that's helped the person, 10,000 different people to overcome it. I don't need to have done it in order to help you. It's like going to counselling for some terrible trauma like rape or abuse. The person you see doesn't have to have had that horrible thing happen to them in order to help you, to help yourself become free. And think about it, how many people have you really met in the world that pretty much, with the exception of 5 times, and I'm probably added a couple of fingers there, they've only done drunk or drugged or in any shape or form. Very few people make that choice. And when I asked oftentimes people, why do you do your drug? It's, well, I hang out with my mates, don't I? It's a British word, by the way, folks, my North American folks. Mates is friends. Get to hang out with my mates, yeah, we drink. We do some spliff, we do some weed, we pass it along. Well, if we took that away, why can't you hang out, have a nice meal or chat? It wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same. What they're secretly saying is the connection is built on that drug, illegal or legal. And what I found over working with thousands of people with every kind of addiction, to digital addiction, to sex addiction, to porn addiction, to cigarette addiction, to sugar addiction, to coke addiction, to heroin addiction, to crystal meth addiction, to gambling addiction, is when I investigated it, there was always some lack of meaningful connection. Now, whether that be connection to themselves, whether that be connection to their higher power, if you or they believe in such a thing, whether that be connection to their family, whether that be connection to a significant other, there was always a lack of connection that in some weird, unconscious, subconscious way, using their primal mind, their monkey mind, thought on some level that by doing the drug, legal or illegal, explicit or implicit, that they were going to find that connection, even though it logically, consciously doesn't make sense. So I chose this lifestyle, but this lifestyle chose me to be straight edge. So when I found out about straight edge, it's actually about 15 years ago. Big wrestling fan, as you know. And one of my favourite wrestlers was a guy called CM Punk. And he would talk about straight edge this, straight edge that. And I'm like, why do I like this guy? He's got all these tattoos. Before I had tattoos, he's talking about straight edge lifestyle. What is this? Sounds pretty cool. What is it? Straight edge basically means no drinking, no drugging, no whoring, no gambling, none of it. You live your life, you can be fun, you can be out there, you can have friends, you can go to rock concerts, punk concerts, R&B concerts if you want, rap concerts, you can enjoy, you can do everything that people will link doing their drug with, but you can do it without it. I'm like, shit, this is cool, but I've been doing that. I've been doing that my whole life, essentially, with the exception of about 3 times before the age of 20. So it can be cool. You mean I can be cool? I can be a cool kid? And I don't need to fit in with other cool kids by smoking or doing drugs or drinking. I can be cool and not drink, not do drugs, not smoke. It blew my mind. It blew my mind. Hence why my very first tattoo, I don't know, about 5 years ago, I've got 50 now, was my ex's. And straight edge, living a straight edge lifestyle. So I finish off all these recordings with the X, the straight edge lifestyle. And a few years ago, I got to meet CM Punk, you know, one of my role models, for want of a better word, right? I got to meet him in Chicago. Got a picture here. I don't know if the reflection, you're going to be able to see the reflection clearly because it's in glass. But there's me and CM Punk. Got to meet him a couple of years ago and kind of tell him, you know, what he meant to me and what he showed me. And being a wrestling fan as well, there's a legendary wrestler called Jerry the King Lawler. You may know Jerry the King Lawler because he's responsible for bitch slapping the hell out of Andy Kaufman on a live episode of Late Night with David Letterman circa 1982. It became one of the most infamous moments in late night television history, certainly in David Letterman history. And they made a movie about Andy Kaufman called Man on the Moon, where Jerry Lawler plays Jerry Lawler, where they reenact that, Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman, and Jerry the King Lawler replies in his role as himself. And Jerry Lawler had a lot, he's still wrestling now, he's in his 70s now, known for throwing one of the best working punches. That means a punch that looks completely real in wrestling, looks real, but has never hurt anyone intentionally or unintentionally by accident in his life. And Jerry Lawler had this longevity in his career. He was called the King of Memphis. They was even trying to put together a match between Jerry the King Lawler and Elvis Presley back in the mid-70s. He was that big a star. Other than Elvis, he was the most famous and popular person at the time to come out of Memphis. And then I realised Jerry Lawler has never drank, smoked or done drugs, other than maybe, I guess, a couple of times before the age of 20 in his whole life. He's just had that lifestyle, which as a wrestler on the road, the lifestyle these guys had, certainly in the 80s, midway through 90s, it's better now. But they were taking pills to keep them up, they were doing drugs to keep them up, to be high, and they were taking drugs to bring them down. It was just the lifestyle. Again, no judgment on the road. Almost every wrestler was doing drugs at that time. I got to meet Jerry the King Lawler a few years ago as well, and he's also a big fan of superheroes and stuff, which was great. But to find out he was living a straight edge lifestyle without even really knowing what it was, in a time where almost every wrestler was doing copious amount of drugs because their body was messed up and they were on the road wrestling about 250 plus dates a year, going from city to city, driving long, many hundreds of miles in their car. So these people helped me to form the lifestyle that I lead. And I guess, you know, my dad doing these things and seeing him being very sick and hooked up to all machines, I just decided, and I think I never really had a conversation with my sister about it, but just decided that this wasn't for me. I wanted to have fun, all right? I wanted to be cool, I wanted to have meaningful connections with people, but I didn't want the basis of that. I didn't want my fun being, oh, I need to get hammered to have fun. In order to fit in, I need to do copious amounts of drugs to feel comfortable, so my stress or anxiety would drop, or my shyness would drop, and then I could communicate and connect with people. I wanted to do it in a more authentic way. I didn't want to get those benefits that oftentimes people link to doing drugs, feeling good when oftentimes they feel shitty, feeling confident when oftentimes they feel shy or unconfident. I want to give myself the gift or learn those skills without having to rely on some kind of drug, some explicit thing that I was putting into my body. If I couldn't do it myself, in neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis we call states, if I couldn't create a state of happiness, joy, energy, connection, authenticity, charisma, charm, I didn't want to do it by foreign means, by, oh, I'm really cool and confident. Who's heard this? Oh, he's really shy, but when he has a couple of drinks, he can talk to anyone, he can talk to any girl when he's drunk. He's probably going to slur all over himself, make a complete buffoon of himself, but he can speak to anyone. Hey Amanda, how are you? If you just joined us, give us a wave, give us a thumb up. I didn't want to develop skills, or I didn't want to develop a personality based on something else that I had to put into my body if I couldn't do it myself. And that's why for years, as a youngster growing up, I probably would have suffered from depression because I literally had I tested it, I had no serotonin in my body for a blood test for something about 5-6 years ago. Serotonin is often linked, I don't know if you can see it on the wall behind me, it's that one there, you can only see the bottom of it, but it's the DNA code of serotonin. Got a tattoo on my arm right there, if you can see. I'm not giving you the finger, by the way, but in punk we like to give the finger, but it's serotonin to get high, the thing that makes you feel good, but naturally. So I had no serotonin in my brain after the blood test, and the pharmacist said to me, are you on antidepressants? I'm like, no. He's like, are you taking any kind of drugs? You know, I'm not going to tell anyone, but are you taking anything? I'm like, no, I'm straight edge, right? I'm like, why? He's like, because I've been a pharmacist for 20 plus years, this kind of tests on people daily. I've never found someone with less serotonin in their brain than you. He's like, how are you functioning? What do you mean? What do you mean, how am I functioning? How do you get out of bed every morning? I get out of bed, I go to work, I do my thing. What do you mean? It's like, because this serotonin is linked to making you feel balanced, regulating your emotions, feeling happy, feeling in a moment a sense of well-being. There's none in your brain. I'm like, oh shit, I had to find different ways to create serotonin states inside my body in order to feel good naturally because I didn't want to take antidepressants, I didn't want to take anti-anxietants, I didn't want to fix myself by taking some pharmaceutical, even if it's prescribed by a doctor, because like, if I have to rely on something else to make me feel a drug, it's not living an authentic lifestyle. I've always got a crutch where I'm relying on something. Oftentimes I find this with addicts, people addicted, is they're very black and white in their thinking. They either use or they don't use. I'm like that, but I don't use. I just chose not to. But I know that if I did ever choose to use drugs, I'd be fucked. I'd have a whole nother problem that I'd be fucked with in my life. So I just chose not to from an early age. And they say, oh, well, I've got an addictive personality. I hear that daily in my clinic, right? Or over Zoom, how I do sessions now. Everyone's got an addiction, all right? Everyone, me included, everyone's got an addiction. But not all addictions are created the same. Anything can be turned into heroin, all right? It could be watching too much TV. It could be sex. It could be food. It could be anything. It could be any of these other explicit things that you're putting inside your body. But anything can be turned into heroin. It's just not all addictions are created equally, and not all of them are going to cost you your house, your car, your wife, your husband, your children, your job, your teeth, your hair, and potentially your life, and not all created equally. But I knew, it was more of my personality, being very black and white, like that I didn't want to engage in that. I just knew myself, and I knew if I started that stuff and I started to feel good, because here's the thing a lot of people don't take, there's certain drugs that you take, a lot of drugs, from what I've been told, 10,000 or close to that sessions with working with people who overcome their drug issues, makes them feel really good. Taking the drug makes them feel really good. I get it. I understand it. But if that's the only way that you've got of making yourself feel good, guess what? If you try and stop that and you don't have another way of making yourself naturally feel high, that good, that kind of serotonin, that kind of dopamine, you've got it above me on the other side, that's dopamine, I know you can only see the bottom of it, but if I just do this and move my head, you can see that is that's dopamine. That one over there is serotonin, and below that is oxytocin. It's what makes you feel love. It's what makes you feel connected. So if I bring this a little bit more forward, when I'm doing sessions with people, I have that behind me the whole time. So it's an unconscious signal. It's an unconscious signal to allow their unconscious mind to produce more of these chemicals inside your body to naturally make you feel good. And if most addicts had this, which is oxytocin, that's that connection, that's that love. It's when you embrace someone you love, when you get a rub on the arm, when you kiss someone you love. It's that connection, holding someone's hand that you love. It's breathing, it's looking after yourself. These are all forms of how oxytocin is released or computed, manifesting inside the body. And often a meaningful connection. And almost every addict I've ever met who was really destructive and came to me for help, they had a lack of meaningful connection in their life. They may have had boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, but they were shit friends, shit boyfriends, shit girlfriends. They may have had family, but it was a very bad family dynamic on some level. And once that was fixed, for want of a better word, not that they were broken, but once that was put on the right path, things automatically changed, even without having to necessarily directly deal with the drug. Because make no mistake about it, folks, the only reason people use a drug and keep using it is they're getting a need met, they're getting one of their need met, and they're getting one of their glasses essentially filled, one of their holes filled, if you will. They're getting something from it, and if they can't find another way of getting that same feeling from it, they just go cold turkey or whatever, but they don't find another way of feeling connected, loved, or whatever else they're getting from it, then they're going to start using again. So just by taking the drug away and putting someone in a clinic or rehab center or cold turkey, oftentimes, statistically, over 93% of the time it fails, meaning the people continue to use their drug after and use even more, is because they haven't found a replacement. I don't mean a replacement drug. I don't mean the heroin addict goes into the crystal meth addict. I don't mean the nicotine addict goes into the vape pen addict. I don't mean that, but I mean the need that was being met. Whether the need for doing the drug made you feel energized, you don't have a lot of energy, but when you do that drug, you're really energized. If you don't find another way of feeling energized, guess what? And that's important to you, you're going to go back to the drug. If that drug just makes you feel calm, chilled out, and you don't have another way of helping yourself feel calmed or chilled out or practice to do that daily, guess what? You're going to go back to your drug. If that drug lowers your inhibition so you feel that you're connecting with people, you can be more open, more talkative, and you don't find another way of doing that, and that's important to you, it's one of your values, guess what? You're going to go back to the drug. So when I work with people with drug issues, I find their unconscious, their subconscious, their monkey mind, their primal mind, it's all the same thing. Their child, I have a conversation with that part of them to get that part to find another way for them to get all the positive benefits. And no matter how dangerous or nasty the drug is, there's always a positive intention or a positive benefit behind it. That when they find that other way of getting that need met, they no longer need to do the drugs. We need to go below this. This is the drug, but we need to go below. That's just surface level. That's just the bad behavior. We need to go what's constructed underneath it, what that root is underneath that drug that's causing the person to feel the need to have to do that drug. we just remove the drug, it's going to sprout out. They're going to end up going back to that drug or another replacement drug to get that same need met. So we need to go in, pull out that weed, literally, pun intended, and put another seed in there where all the same needs can get met. But instead of it being a weed plant, it's a non-drug plant. It's a plant that they can still get oxygen from, perhaps it's a herb or whatever they can still eat from, whatever the positive benefit was, maybe it make them feel calm, but they no longer need to do that in order to get that kind of connection. If you just joined us, give us a thumbs up, give us a wave, say hi in the comments below. If you've got any questions about what I'm saying, please put it below right there. But yeah, that's why I end these things with the cross, because the cross, the X, is the sign of a straight edge lifestyle. And again, it's just something that I choose to do. I can go out there. I think I seem like a fun guy. If you talk to anyone, most people that know me, they'll say, this is a fun guy. This guy seems like he's high most of the time. And in fact, I've drank probably less than 3 times in my life. Because I believe people need to cultivate those skills inside, that the drug was giving them that value, that need, that behavior, the positive one, without having any to do or add anything else explicitly on their person into their bloodstream, in order to have a meaningful connection, in order to have energy, in order to, like the serotonin, feel good, like the oxytocin, if you can see, in order to feel connection, whatever it is, your unique makeup. If you can't do it with your combination of your brain, your neurochemicals in your body or in mine, then I don't want to. If there's a pill in that says, look, if you take this pill, it's going to make you feel amazing every day. All you got to do is just take this pill and you'll feel amazing, 10 out of 10 every day. I'd say no. Truly would say no. Because it was relying on a foreign substance that I needed to put in my body daily in order to balance me out. I should be able to do that on my own. Hypnosis makes it possible that you can do it on your own. Because guess what? What controls your hormones? What controls your neurochemicals, your emotional states, your behaviors, your addiction? It's your unconscious, subconscious, child, monkey mind, primal mind. It's all the same thing, just different names for it. And hypnosis, communicate directly with that part of you to negotiate a deal, if you will, where it stops doing the dangerous behavior. The behavior, the addiction you've come to me, and help to find another way for you to get that same need met without ever having to do that drug or another drug. Here's an interesting example. I get a lot of smokers that have gone to other hypnotists to stop smoking. They come to see me. To which I say, well, if you went and saw Joe Bloggs, I don't know if Joe Bloggs is a hypnotist, it's a random name, but if you went and saw Joe Bloggs to stop smoking, why are you calling me? Did it work? I'm figuring it didn't work. Oh, no, it worked. Yeah, he hypnotised me. He's a good hypnotist. It worked. Yeah, I didn't smoke again when I left. Great, so why are you calling me? If you had great success with another hypnotist, why are you calling me? He's like, no, they work really good. Great, fantastic. Why are you calling me? The thing is, after I quit smoking, I gained 7 pounds in the first month. And I started gaining weight every month after that. My appetite came back. I was eating more and more sugar, gaining more and more weight. These are not my words, but more than quite a few clients. I'd rather be skinny and addicted to nicotine than fat and addicted to sugar. And what had happened is, unfortunately, the hypnotist, not just one hypnotist, many, they'd taken away the addiction to nicotine. It worked. It was gone. But their unconscious was trying to find another way to plug that hole to get their needs met. So they went to sugar. They went for another destructive behavior to get that same need met. It's almost like there's a hole in your boat, right? And you put some tissue in it to stop it from sinking. Then suddenly the hole comes up somewhere else because you haven't properly fixed that boat. You just put some tissue in it. It's a bit like plugging the hole of cigarettes and then going for eating for some sugar. So the way I bulletproof my clients from having that happen is in hypnosis, I give them a suggestion that they will no longer do the drug that they came to see me for. But they won't do any equally negative bad drugs. They won't form any equally negative addictive behaviours to replace the old one. If they are going to replace it, I give them a suggestion to replace it with another behaviour that's 100% positive, ecological, healthy for them. And I leave it open. For some people that might be drinking more water. For other people it might be stopping and taking a deep breath a few times a day. For other people, it's taking a time out, from the computer, from work, from the Zoom meeting. Just going for a little bit of a walk around the block. For other people, it's exercise. Can be an addiction as well. So be careful with that, because then anything you do too much becomes an addiction, even if it's very positive, become bad. An example of this is the bodybuilders that you see, or the fitness experts, fitness athletes, when they go on stage and they show off their physique. To the untrained eye, whether muscles are your thing or not, put that to a side. To the untrained eye, it's like, well, no, obviously they've worked really hard in their body. They've got muscle on top of muscle. They're very defined. I can see every muscle. They look amazing, all right? However, sometimes these folks can become so addicted to that look, that they look very healthy, very strong, but when they come off stage, they collapse, because they've starved and dehydrated themselves to such a point to look good for that 5 minutes they're on stage underneath the hot lights posing. To form something that seems very positive but can become quite anything that turns into an addiction, not a passion, but can turn into an addiction. Anything that can turn into addiction, even if it starts out positive, if it goes over that line of passion to addiction, no matter how positive it may seem, it can be detrimental. An example of this, you have a great relationship, it's going really well, but now the love has turned into an addiction. Like, well, what's that? It's like, well, I'm with this person, I don't really like this person, but I don't feel that I can leave this person, because there's certain needs that are getting met, whatever they may be, of this person. They treat me like shit, maybe I treat them like shit, but I just can't leave. It's like I'm addicted. Like, I know they are bad for me. I know they are wrong for me. I don't even like them. I don't even know if I love them, but I'm addicted. Addiction doesn't just have to be a substance you put in. It could be a behavior. It can be a relationship. Passion's great. Any kind of addiction, though, it's when you get out of balance, folks, and you are in trouble. So maybe I'll make a video on that. Maybe I should make a video on passion. What's the difference between passion and addiction? If you'd like for me to do a Facebook Live on the difference between passion and addiction, just put so in the comments below. And if I get enough people saying, yeah, I want to see a Facebook Live on passion versus addiction, then I'll make that. So I make these videos if you watch them. If you watch them, I'll continue to make them. If you give me feedback, I'll continue to be here, spend as much time needed, give you these things daily. If no one watches them, no one comments on them, what's the point of me doing it? So if you'd like me to continue making these Facebook Lives, specifically on addiction, please do put it in the comments below so I know. And if I see enough people like it, I'll do a Facebook Live, perhaps tomorrow or Monday, on that. Passion versus addiction is a good idea, says Amanda. Thanks, Amanda. Deb says that would be super interesting. All right, that's good. We've got 2 votes. Yeah, if you think that's a good video, or you've got another idea of something in the addiction field, and again, it doesn't just have to be a foreign substance or a drug you're putting in. There's many, although I certainly will address that, but there could be any other forms of drugs. Like, well, I don't do drugs, Luke, but I'm addicted to dating the same type of man or woman with 10 different faces. You can put that in. But any idea that you have of videos you'd like to see, Facebook Lives about addiction on any form, please do put the ideas below. And I'll certainly, if I get enough thumbs up for those, or enough people hitting on the same topic, I'll certainly cover that. Donna's joined us as well. If you've joined us and you haven't said a hello, don't be a stranger. We're a family here. Say hi. Put your thumb up. Say your name. Put below any ideas of addiction-related videos you'd like me to make. But yes, that's it. So that's why I do this. That's why I've got my first tattoos. Straight edge lifestyle, and it became a whole movement. Straight edge became a whole movement in punk. And really, what punk is, I looked into punk music. What was the movement of punk in the 70s that came from England? Really, people feel, oh, punk is with the mohawks, isn't it, and the spiky hair. And I did have my hair like that at some point. That wasn't the reason why, though. But the punk movement, and the reason, my pseudonym on the street is hypnopunk, because like punk a derogatory term. It means you're a bit of a scumbag. No. It doesn't mean that. What punk came from was what we call a DIY, do-it-yourself movement. It's like, I don't agree. Everyone else is going that way. But I don't agree with that. I don't like that. I don't want to walk that path. I don't want to be a sheep. I don't want to be like everyone else. I'm different. I want to live my life by my means. Even if everyone's like, oh no, come with us, watch this movie, listen to this music, eat this food, do this drug. I had something inside. Punk, something inside is like, fuck you. I want to do this. And I want to do it, as Frank Sinatra would say, my way. I want to get that brass ring my way. I want to have that success my way. I don't want to kiss people's ass. I don't want to blow smoke up people's ass. I don't want to get to that position in life through having to do things I didn't want to do to get there. I want to do it my way. If it takes me twice as long, then it takes me twice as long. But when I look back, I did it my way. I didn't do it to play the political game so I could climb that ladder faster, get that promotion, make those friends that are not really friends anyways. I did it my way. If I had to piss some people off along the way, then so be it. That's the punk movement. It's like, if it pissed you off, good, be pissed off. I'm not responsible for the way you perceive me in your brain. That's your responsibility. So it's really about living your life. Not trying to hurt people, not trying to do people wrong, but say, I'm going to live my life my way. Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to live my life my way. I'm going to do things the way I want to do them. I don't care if that's the popular music, the popular food, the popular movie, the popular job, the popular club, the popular bar. Fuck that. I'm going there because it's popular. I don't even like that music. I don't even like that food. I don't even like that person. I'm going to this party. I don't even like these people. Why am I going there? Oh, we want to fit in. Do you really want to fit in? Now, I understand there's a human need to feel connection out there. But there's also another human need to be significant and to stick out. So oftentimes it's quite easy to fit in. But you're not doing it in an authentic way. You're doing it because you're like, what would they want to hear? I want to make friends with this person. So let me say things in a way that I'm going to know that they're going to accept me. I'm not saying that some people do it consciously. I certainly did when I was younger. Yeah, in that way. But it's kind of it's spineless. I see it as being spineless. You know, if it's no, I want to build. I don't want to go that way and join someone else's cult. I want to create my own cult. I want to create my own tribe, and have people come with me and find their way, a way that's open, that you can find this way any way you want. And there's a level of acceptance here. We don't all have to think the same way. We don't always have to go the same path. We don't have to go through the same door. It's okay to stick out. It's okay to be different. Be yourself, because everybody else is already taken. So when I think punk, when I think straight edge, when I think of that type of movement, that's what I think. I think doing things authentically, doing things for yourself, even if everyone's like, no, come here, this is cool, this is good, do it this way. And you know in your heart, you know in your gut, I have to go a different path. I have to go a different way. I have to create my own character. I have to be myself. What does mean? It's just being yourself is making decisions that people aren't happy with. Oh no, well, you know, you shouldn't date this type of person and they should be this size and this shape and this race or whatever. Fuck that. Do what you want to do. Do what you want to do, as long as you're not consciously going out there to hurt other people. Do whatever the fuck you want to do in your life. You got one life. This is it. And to quote Fight Club, it's ending moment by moment. So you don't want to be a sheep and be like everyone else who's equally miserable. I'm going to end on this last little metaphor. Come from Bill Phillips, creator of the book and the movement Body for Life, which was the #1 selling fitness book of all time. And he said this, he's like, I eat clean. I eat in a way that's clean and healthy. I don't go to bars, I don't go to drink. But all my friends, he's a young man, right? All my friends are, oh, come to the bar, meet some girls, get drunk, get hammered, dance. You know, connect with people, be popular. And he said, the interesting thing about most bars and most clubs is if you go there, you turn off the music, you switch on the lights, take away the alcohol, you look around, most people are not really happy. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Always believe.